Well, hello, Stacey Murphy here with a quick video on 3 keys to successful indoor seed starting because your baby plants need a little bit of extra special care. And this is going to help you avoid the most common mistakes that I see growers make when they're starting seeds indoors. So the first key is to start with clean and sterile materials because the health of your plants really depends on it. When you have baby seeds, you don't want to introduce disease to them when they're very young. And specifically what I'm talking about here in this case is the tray. This is a tray that is not special at all. It actually was at the store. It was buried under a whole bunch of other trays, and I just grabbed it for free and took it home with me. It's got some drainage holes in the bottom, and that's helpful so that it can drain out any excess water. But other than that, there's nothing really special about this tray, and so I'm just going to use this to grow my seeds in. So specifically, I'm talking about sterilizing trays if you're using them. So you want to create a 1 to 10 bleach to water solution. You want to soak your trays in that solution for 20 minutes. You then want to rinse clean the tray of all of that bleach solution, and then you want to dry the tray thoroughly. And note, if you are sensitive to chemicals and you're weary about using the bleach, a vinegar solution is about 97% effective without the chemicals. So it's up to you if you want to make that decision. To sterilize your trays. So you're basically creating a clean environment for your seed starting mix and for your seeds to grow. And another way that you can keep things clean, you can use what's called a soil blocker. That's the image on the left. And you're not using any containers to grow anything. You're just using a seed starting mix, and so you don't need to sterilize anything. Or you can use newspaper, and some people don't like to use newspaper because they're worried about the toxins in the newspaper. That's up to you. That's your call, whether you feel comfortable or not with the newspaper. All right, so second key is to start with hydrophilic seed starting mix, and you want to keep that growing mix moist right from the start like a sponge. So what do I mean by this? So I'm going to make sure that my mixture that I'm going to grow my seeds in is moist, and you'll see that this is very dry. If I grip it in my hand, if I try to ball it up, if I grab it and squeeze it, it doesn't form a ball. It basically just falls apart. That means it's not holding any moisture. We want our mixture to be moist. It's what's called hydrophilic, meaning water loving. We want it to be moisture loving so that when we water our seedlings, that the water soaks into that mixture really well. What happens if it's hydrophobic, meaning that it is afraid of water, so to speak, is that it will repel water, and the water will basically roll off the surface of our mixture, and our precious seeds won't get the water that they need. So basically what I'm doing is I'm dumping water into the seed starting mix or the potting mix, and I'm mixing it up. And if I had a larger container, this would be much easier. I could do this without having the fear of spilling it everywhere. But in this case, I'm being a little bit more gentle. And I'm mixing that water in. I'm trying to get all the way down to the bottom and make sure that every part has a nice amount of moisture. So how do I know that it's enough moisture? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up a handful and I'm going to squeeze it really hard in my hand. And basically, if it holds together and it looks like it's holding together decently, but it still needs maybe a little bit more water, then I know that I'm getting close. Now, if I squeeze it and water starts to squeeze out of my hand, that means I have too much water and I want to add a little bit more media into the mixture so that I can dry it out a little bit more. But so what I found was that I was close but not quite there. So how do you know what it looks like when you're ready? When I think it feels about right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to do that technique again where I squeeze it into a ball. And when I do that, when I squeeze it into that ball, what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can hold that ball between my finger and my thumb. And if it doesn't fall apart, then it's good. And it actually doesn't fall apart. But when I tap it with my hand, it does crumble. So that's the right consistency. And you can see my hands are dirty as well. So that's how you know you're the right consistency. All right, so the third key is that yes, if you are growing indoors, you need lots of light. Your windowsills never seem to have enough light, and so you really need to go out and purchase a grow lamp if you're thinking about growing indoors. And how much light do you need? People are very shocked to find out that they need 16 hours per day of light in order for those baby little seedlings to become very healthy. And if you don't get 16 hours of sun per day, then you end up with leggy seedlings, which basically means that they are tall and spindly, and it takes extra effort for the nutrients to work their way up that plant. And so you don't want that. You want healthy plants. Sometimes you look at your windowsill, you think that it gets 16 hours of sunlight per day, but it's very rare that that is ever the case. And oftentimes the sun is coming in at an angle that's not helpful for the plants. So you really need to buy indoor lights if you're going to grow indoors. And what kind of lights to buy? Well, this is when I went out to my local store and I saw that there was 2-foot grow lamps, LED lights, and also fluorescent lights. And notice that at 2 foot long, they're a little bit expensive. You can probably get a 4-foot long light for about the same price as the 2-foot light. And so in my case, I bought 2 different 2-foot lights because I have a shelving unit that's very narrow that I'm going to put it in, and the 4-foot light just wouldn't fit. And so I wanted to test the fluorescent versus the LED. I purchased the blue spectrum LED because I wanted just the vegetative growth. I'm going to put these plants outdoors eventually, so I don't need the red spectrum, which is more for fruiting. So I brought these home to test. Now, I mentioned that 2-foot lamp I bought because it fits into my cabinet. So when you're buying a light, you want to know that a 2-foot light really only fits 1 tray of seedlings. So this is, in order to be an economical process, you may choose to only start certain seeds indoors because you don't want to maybe buy this many lights. Or maybe you have an area where you can buy longer 4-foot lights and become more economical. And you want to remember that you want the lights to be the full width of the plants. You don't want the plants to be reaching towards the light. You want them to have enough light. So make sure, notice here that this 2-foot lamp has 2 bulbs in it, and that's plenty for this 1 tray. All right, so the next thing you want to remember about your light is that you want 6 inches maximum between the leaves of your plant and the light. You want to really get that lamp close up to the plants and give the plants as much light as possible. And then you want to raise and lower your trays or raise and lower your lights in order to make that happen and keep the plants close to the light. And really quickly, why not an incandescent lamp? Basically because you can burn your plants with too much heat. And when you're looking for lamps, you want to look for high lumens, low watts. That means that you will be using less energy and the brightness, which is what the plants want, will be higher. So that's what you're looking for if you're comparing lamps. I didn't have so much of a choice. I had to kind of go with what was there. But if you have a choice, then this is what you want to look at. And a bonus key for keeping those seedlings really healthy and growing them really nice and strongly, you want to put the plants in the path of your daily rituals. I cannot stress this enough. If you don't make these plants a part of your ritual, then you will forget about them and you can't ignore what's right in front of you. So for me, I have these growing in a cabinet that's right next to my bed. So when I wake up in the morning, notice that they need 16 hours of sun a day. So when I wake up in the morning, I turn the lamps on. When I go to bed, I turn the lamps off. I also water them when I wake up and water them when I go to bed. For the most part, I can water them enough that they don't need any more moisture than that because I've already made the soil nice and moist. So that's really all that's necessary. So I put this right next to my bed. You can also put it right next to your kitchen sink because oftentimes when you wake up in the morning, you're going to your kitchen sink. Although at night, you're not necessarily going by your kitchen sink, so you might forget about them. But if you have to go turn off the lights, that's how you might remember. Some people might choose to put the plants on a timer, and then you really have to remember to be near the plants in order to give them the water that they want. And as those sprouts get bigger, they're going to need more water. So you're going to have to make sure that these are a part of your daily life in order for these seeds to really take off. And the benefit of having them right nearby is that, let's say you're growing shoots underneath your lights. These are pea shoots and sunflower shoots. When I wake up in the morning, I reach over, I harvest a handful of pea shoots, and then I head over to the kitchen to eat my breakfast. All right, so those are the 3 keys to successful indoor seed starting plus a bonus key, and enjoy.